Sir Henry Miney, 1822 to 1888 is it his lifetime. So he gave his concept of law, and he's also known as the founder of the English history. We call it, we can say that he is the founder of the English historical school. And here, don't get confused that if he was the father, so there might be a thing that he have founded it. So why we are calling it the founder here? So read the line carefully once again. He is the founder of English historical school of law, not the historical school of law, English historical school of law. And he studied the Indian legal system deeply, okay, because he was the law member in the Council of Governor General of India in the year 1861 to 1869. Okay, when he was in India, he was the law member of the Council of Governor General of India. So he studied the Indian legal system deeply, okay, and he carried forward the Savigny's views of historical law to England. So how did this historical views went to England? They went to, like, from Savigny to Miney, and Miney understood, Miney read the Indian legal system, and then he carried forward these views of historical school into England. Okay, and he described that we were talking about the evolution of the law. So he described that the law is developed in four stages. If we are talking about the law that we have, so this law have evolved in four stages. First stage was when there were rulers, those who believe that they are acting under the divine inspiration. Earlier, there was a time when king was considered to be the spokesperson of God. He was considered to be next to God, that whatever is said by him, it is being said by God. It was like that. There was a time where the rulers, they were believed that they are acting under the divine inspiration. Whatever they are doing, it is the order of the God they are following. Okay, and the laws, how they were made, because it is a divine form, it is a divine person, God is talking to him, he is telling to us. So whatever the command he will give, that will be the law. It was the first stage. Okay, like the example of the thesis of the ancient Greek. So the judgment of the king was considered to be the judgment of God or some divine body. It was considered that king is nothing, he is just the executor of the judgment of God. He is not making law, he is not punishing anyone, he is not passing any judgment. It is the God who is doing it. King is just the executor of it. God have asked him to make the law, so he is making the law. God have given this punishment, so he is just executing the punishment. This was the first stage where the divine inspiration was the supermost thing. So whatever the command will be given by ruler, it was considered to be the command of the God or the divine body, and it was considered as the law. Okay. Second stage was that when the commands of the king, it converted into the customary law. Whatever the command have been given by king, it have been followed by everyone. And when they have followed, they are passing it to the other generation, then it to the other generation. So those commands, they were passing from generation to generation, and eventually they were converted into the customary law. Like a king have given a command right now that you have to do this particular thing. After 5 generations, people are following it as a custom, that it is a custom in our society. हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसे ही होता है, हम ऐसे ही करते हैं. Why do we do it? We don't know. Actually, it was that king have said that you can do on this thing by this method only. So now it has become a customary law. My father told me to do this. My father used to do like this. My grandfather used to do like this. My great grandfather. So I will be doing the same. My grandchildren will be doing the same, and my great grandchildren will be doing the same. So what have happened in the second stage? Those commands of king, they are now converted into the customary law. Okay, and these custom, they prevail in the ruler or the majority class. And what have happened, these customs have now succeeded the right and the authorities of the king. Now the king is saying that you must not do like this, and the people are saying we have been doing this for ages, so we will be do like this only because it is our custom, and we will follow our custom. So at that time, at the second stage, the king and the authority, they started following the custom. That means they have succeeded the right and the authorities of the king. Whatever the king will say, whatever the king will do, it have to follow the custom, or else there will be a revolution, or else there will be a revolt. That was the second stage. Now the divine authority is converted into the customary law, and the customary law is now succeeding the rights and the authorities of the king. Okay. Then it converted into third stage. What happened? These knowledge and the administration of the custom, it goes into the hands of the minority. In the second stage, it is with the majority class, that yes, what custom will be prevailing, how the custom will be being done, it is with the majority classes only. And the how the majority will be looking at the custom, it will be followed by the same. In the third stage, this knowledge and this administration of the custom, it goes into the hands of the minority. Okay. And due to the weakening of the lawmaking power of the original lawmakers, that means the priests and the people, those who have the knowledge of the custom, the power, it goes, because people are now understanding how to follow the custom, what to do, how to do. So every person, like if we talk about the situation of 18th century, there was a time when priests used to do all the work. They can only read the Sanskrit, so they were reading the ancient scriptures and they were telling people what to do. Slowly and gradually, the scriptures were converted by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Many people were getting education of the Sanskrit. Sanskrit college was there. So now everyone was able to read. Now, like just like with the advancement of the technology, we all have access to the knowledge. Earlier, we do not have. We have to be reliable on different sources. So now what is happening? The power is coming in the hands of minority. Every person is able to read. So the lawmaking power of the original lawmakers is becoming weaker, and the knowledge of the custom is going into the hand of the ordinary class also now. Now one person or a one group cannot uh, run the custom, cannot direct the custom. Now the customary power, it is customary knowledge, it is with the ordinary class. And this time the ruler is superseded by the minority who obtain the control over the law. So now the minority can also supersede the rule because he have the knowledge of the law. So they can convert, they can manipulate the people as per themselves, and they can also get the control over the law. Like if any rule is being made and the people are not liking it and they know that what is the actual thing of it, so they can go against it and they can have the control of the law, and law will be formed as per their own consent, as per their own requirement. And the fourth stage is the law is codified and promulgated. Getting this thing? Whenever we talk about a system, majority class, if you talk about, like if you talk about the customary thing, majority class is the priest, those who have the knowledge of the scriptures, of the religious scriptures. That is the majority one. They are at the majority, they have their majority in that particular thing. And then it is from the second stage to third stage, it is coming from the hands of the priest to the ordinary people. Now everyone know what law is, everyone know how this particular custom can be done. So they do not have to rely over a priest, or even if a priest is saying something, they can question him that you are saying that yes, this is the rule, I have to do this particular thing, but why? Because it is written in the book we can do this thing like this also, so why you are saying this only? That means the law making power or the control over the law is now going into the hands of the minority as well. That means going into the hands of the society. And the fourth stage is the law becomes codified and it is promulgated to the society as well, completely society. So he said that the law evolves in these four stages. Whatever system we are talking about, wherever we are talking about, law have evolved in this manner only. First there was a king, then king's word were the law, then those commands of the king, they converted to the customary law, those customary law which were succeeding the king and they were with the ruler or the majority class. Then in the third stage, these majority class, they lost their power, and the knowledge and the administration of the custom, it went into the hands of the minority. And at the fourth stage, the law is codified. Okay. So Maini, he further opined that after the fourth stage, it is not like that at the fourth stage the society can stop, that yes, we have codified a law, now we can stop. It is that after the fourth stage, the societies need to progress so that they can develop their legal structure. That means whatever they have codified at once, they have to continue with the progress so that they can evolve, they can change, and they can modify the law as per the changing needs of the society. Okay. He divided society into two types, that if a society is stopping at the fourth stage only, it means he is not, it is not going beyond the fourth stage, it is codifying but is not going beyond that, not trying something after that. So he called those society as the static societies, that yes, our legal system is now developed and we will be following the same, they are not changing it, they are not progressing it. So he called those societies as the static societies. Okay, and the other one was the progressive society. What is a progressive society? It is a society which continue to develop their legal system with the help of principles of equity and legislations. Every time they are looking for the things that yes, if the law is there, is it working properly or not, is it going with the equity or not, and they are continuously evolving, they are continuously updating themselves, they are continuing to develop their legal system. Those are the progressive societies. Static societies are those which fail to progress beyond the codes. That means they have created the code, codes have been created, now they are not developing it, they are following that same code over and over again, they are not developing it, they are not looking for the needs. So those societies are considered as the static societies. Okay, static here is the which is stuck at a particular stage. Okay, he was a string supporter of the codification of the legislation. He was the supporter that yes, the legislations must be codified. What is the benefit of codification? It gives a clarity, it defines particular things. Okay, the ambiguity and the vagueness or the confusion, it goes out of those law if we have codified them. If there is a verbal law going on, so there will be always a confusion that this particular thing will be the part of it or not. So he was a supporter of codification and the legislations. So what is a static society? Static society is a society which do not progress or develop their legal structure after the fourth stage of development of law. Okay, they do not progress beyond the era of the codes. Codes have been created, now they are not progressing beyond it. And then comes the progressive society. They keeps on progressing even after, they are not stopping at fourth stage, they are keeping on developing their law, they are keeping on updating themselves, and these three instruments they are used by them to keep on developing. Okay, first thing is legal fiction. Legal fiction is something in which we are not changing the actual letters of the law. It is written whatever was written, but how we read it, that thing changes. The interpretation of the same thing, it changes as per the time. So the first instrument to develop the law is the use of legal fiction. That means it changes the law according to the need of the society, but they are not making changes to the letters of the legislation. The words are still the same. The words are still saying the same thing, that this thing will be, that no obscene thing will be considered as a will be accepted. But as per the change in the society, the definition of the obscenity is changing. So they have not changed the words, but they have changed the law as per the needs of the society verbally. Okay, what happens with this legal fiction? What is the benefit of this legal fiction? That you are changing the interpretation, or you are interpreting those same words as per the need of the society, that this harmonizes the legal order. And the negative aspect of is that it makes the law difficult to understand, because a single law is there, a single section is being mentioned, and if we go with 50 cases, all the 50 cases have made a different interpretation of it. So it is harmonizing the legal order. That means it is helping out each and everyone, it is working as per the need of the society, but it also makes the law too difficult to understand. So how you will understand that what is the actual law, what actually it wants to say? There are 50 interpretations have been done in different cases, so what will be the actual of it? So it creates a bit of difficulty. Like if you start reading murder, there are hundreds and hundreds of cases, and in every case, in even similar looking case, the judgment is a bit different. They have interpreted the same things a bit differently, because it was a need of that particular case. So it will be, the more the cases, the more it will be difficult for you to understand. But if we talk about the legal order, the person who are getting the remedy out of it, they are getting the best remedy. So it is also harmonizing the legal order. Equity. Equity means it is a body of rule which existing by the side of the original civil law, and it is founded on the distinct principle. What it does, because of equity, the rigidity and injustice is removed from the society. If I say that yes, in the previous act we have done there, but the law is saying this, but if we follow this thing, there this will be an injustice to a community, or it will be injustice to a person. Or if we follow the law as it is, written without any use of legal fiction. That will be a rigid thing. So we can use the equity, that means providing equal opportunities to everyone. Because if someone is killing someone other person, so it will be a murder. If we are seeing in a broad manner, it will be a murder. The punishment will be same for everyone. But if we look for equity and if we try to explore the things that yes, in what circumstances it have been done, who have committed it, how it have happened, so it can be a culpable homicide, it can be a self defense. So we have to read all these things so that we can remove the rigidity and we can remove the injustice. And legislation, it is the most effective and desirable method of legal change. Whenever a law is not properly working, it can be changed. So it makes it easier that yes, previous law have been repealed, now the new one have been there, so we will be following this one now. Okay, so whenever a law is enacted, it became operative officially. So legislation is the most effective thing when we want to brought out about a legal change. We are seeing that a particular law is going on. Like if you take the example of 66A of cyber law, it was created, but it was later on declared unconstitutional. So now the legislation have to create certain laws for recovering it, for fulfilling its the space which it have created. So whatever is being enacted by the legislation, it becomes operative official. Legal fiction is not an official thing, we have to read that particular case only. But if you talk about the legislation, it is something which is operative officially and it have to be followed. So these progressive societies, they follow all these things. They follow legal fiction, they follow equity, and they follow the legislation, so that they can keep on improving, keep on progressing, and they can keep on modifying their legal system. Okay, so this is the theory of Sir Henry Maine. It doesn't possess any of the criticism, or you can say this theory was not very widely criticized so that we have to study any sort of criticism for him. He gave his theory and he just talked about that how a society works and how law evolves in the society. In the historical school, it is that yes, he started from the very beginning and how law starts and how it comes to the fourth stage and what happens after fourth stage, and how society is divided on the perspective that if a society is stuck at fourth stage, then it will be a static one. If the society is continuing to work, then it will be a progressive one.